All right. Senator Cruz, two questions. Number one, do you agree with Mr. Trump that Arizona went too far? And secondly, do you agree with Mr. Trump's new generic position, which he announced Monday, that essentially Arizona is a states' rights, abortion is a states' rights issue?
Well, listen, on the first question, I think that's a question for the voters of Arizona to decide. And I have been saying for a long time that issues like abortion, and this is what the Supreme Court said in the Dobbs decision, those are issues on which people of good faith disagree, and disagree strongly, passionately. It's a very personal and emotional issue. I'm pro-life. There are many people who are passionately pro-life, many people who are passionately pro-choice. And what the Supreme Court said is on issues like that, the Constitution leaves it to the voters to decide. It shouldn't be 9 unelected judges issuing an edict for the country. Rather, every voter should decide. And what that means right now is in bright blue states, in states like New York and California, you continue to have essentially unlimited abortion on demand. In redder states, you get more meaningful restrictions, and the particular place the line is drawn, what the nature of those restrictions are, varies depending on the values and the mores of the citizens of those states. And so this decision from the Arizona Supreme Court is not going to be the last word on the topic. The voters in Arizona are going to decide. The governor in Arizona has already called for legislation. I could certainly see the Arizona legislature acting to decide what the rules should be in the state of Arizona. And that's when our framers wrote the Constitution, that's what they envisioned, that on issues where we've got sharp disagreements like this, it ought to be democracy making the decision, not a decree from on high.
So basically, you think Republicans, I'm just thinking about Republicans now, will fall in behind Mr. Trump's view that the states should decide as per the Dobbs decision by the Supreme Court?
Well, listen, I've been saying a long time it's a question for the voters, and it's going to be decided primarily at the state level. That there is a place on the federal level for the outer extremes. So, for example, I and many others have voted in favor of banning partial birth abortion. Partial birth abortion, the overwhelming majority of Americans don't support. And at the extremes, Congress may act, but in the Senate, it takes 60 votes to move any legislation. So the only legislation that's going to get enacted federally is something that could command 60 votes, which means other than the extremes, it is going to stay at the state level, state by state, other than banning some of the most horrific practices that are really beyond the pale and beyond the conscience for the overwhelming majority of Americans.
Let me move on.